The honourable member for Richmond.
Mr. Speaker, last night 115 retired managers from the now closed NewPage mill in Point Tupper, Richmond County, met to discuss their financial future, namely their lack of legal representation when it comes to protecting their pensions with the current court case that is taking place. These 200 retirees and 100 existing workers make up NewPage's salaried, non-union pension plan members. Mr. Speaker, these workers are very concerned about what could potentially happen should their pension plan remain underfunded and wound up. My question to the Premier is, could he advise what actions his government is taking to make sure that these workers are being represented in the court action regarding the closure of the NewPage mill?
Honourable the Premier.
Mr. Speaker, what we're doing is keeping that asset in a hot idle position so that it can be sold, and ultimately the best disposition for all the pensioners is to have an operating asset at NewPage in Port Hawkesbury.
The honourable member for Richmond on his first supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, as the Premier would be aware, the 4 pension plans at the NewPage facility have a potential wind-up deficit of $130.4 million, which would mean a significant reduction in pension benefits to hundreds of workers, existing workers and retirees in the Strait area. Needless to say, we're all hoping that that mill can be sold as a going concern, but the workers are asking what is Plan B should that not happen. So my question is, has the Premier and his government worked out a plan as to what would happen should this wind-up deficit of $130.4 million happen to take place?
Honourable the Premier.
Well, Mr. Speaker, of course, we would offer any assistance we can in order to make sure that that process takes place in an orderly fashion, and of course to the greatest possible benefit to the pensioners. As the honourable member would understand, there is a wind-up process that looks at the solvency, looks at the asset base, and distributes through the retirees the benefits, the existing benefits of the fund. You know, we have seen over and over again across Canada, unfortunately, the consequences of underfunded pension plans, and it's, you know, it can be extremely devastating to families, and you know, we hope that that is not the case. We really do hope that we'll be able to keep that asset running, and as I said, we'll offer whatever support we can through the wind-up process should that take place.
The honourable member for Richmond on his final supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure as the Premier would be aware, many of the retirees and the pension-eligible workers are wondering why is it that legislation has permitted this underfunding to take place, and are questioning whether government is looking at reviewing some of the laws that exist today in light of what has taken place at NewPage and in light of what has taken place at so many other companies, and maybe the Premier can address that. But we now know, Mr. Speaker, that there are 4 bidders that are still in being considered, 2 of which have indicated they would continue to operate the facility as a going concern. I'm wondering if the Premier could advise the House and all the former workers and current workers at NewPage as to whether there's been any discussions with these 2 bidders regarding the status and future of the existing pension plans at the former NewPage site.
Honourable the Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I can't advise the honourable member in that regard. I would expect that that's part of the assessment that any new purchaser would do in taking on those responsibilities. But of course, as he would know, it's currently before the monitor. They have now qualified the bids, but the next thing that they're going to have to do is move forward to that, where those kinds of discussions would start to take place. In fact, it may even be a little further down the road, because the first thing they will do is they will go kind of back through the mill, through the asset base, and try to determine what they would need in order to be able to bring that plant back online, and that's ultimately the disposition they're trying for. So it'll be somewhat further down in the process before they actually get to those kinds of questions.